In today's show, we're going to learn about the new PowerApps Barcode Scanner. That's right, it turns out that the old way of doing it, that control that didn't work for anyone, was a bummer, but so they've given us a new function that takes advantage of some of the native capabilities of the device, and it works a lot better. So I've been building several of these apps for customers recently, and so I thought I'd show you guys how to do it. But first, here's our intro. Hi, my name is Shane Young with PowerApps 911. Those guys. And today's show is all about PowerApps barcode scanning. We're going to look at how to do barcode scanning, a QR reader, whatever way you want to think of it around barcodes and QRs, we're going to look at how we use that. And where this video comes from is there's always been a control there in the PowerApps gallery, but it didn't work very well, right? It kind of was, it worked really nice in our little controlled environments here. But if you tried to use it in an actual factory floor or out on a construction job site, it just couldn't handle those. So what Microsoft did was they released a new way of scanning. And so what they did, instead of giving us a control, is they gave us a function, and that function invokes the native control on our iOS or Android app. So then that way we get a lot better technology around gathering it, and then we pull that data into PowerApps, and then you and I can make apps do whatever we want. And so the reason I'm making this video is several of our customers recently have been construction companies, manufacturers, people that work for a living, unlike us, right, who sit here in these pretty offices wearing our safety yellow shirt, though. I'm trying to get in the spirit. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how to build these apps and how to make them work a little better for you. And so today, instead of switching over to my desktop, because it uses the native functionality, I'm going to actually have to switch over to my phone, and we'll kind of demo and walk you through what we're going to build so you can get an idea of what that is. So let's switch over to my phone. Okay, so over here on my phone, let's try out the little device here. Let's scan some stuff. So I'm going to open up the PowerApps 911 barcode test app. And we're going to jump over to screen 6 because I've been playing a lot and that's where we're at right now. So this is the interface we're going to build in the demo. So we can do a nice simple single scan if we just need to collect one piece of information. So I'm going to click on single scan. And then we'll go down here and we will just scan this little employee ID. You heard it beep. It flashed back and it went boom. Okay, so that's collecting a single piece of information. Now, what I think I'm going to see more often with my industrial type customers is scan to collection. So say scan to collection. And so here what we're going to do is we're going to scan several pieces, right? So maybe we're going to say, all right, we want to start the project. And then we're going to say scan to collection again. And so then we're going to scan item 1. And then we're going to say scan to collection again. And then we'll go item 3. Boom, scan to collection again. And then there's in project, right? So that took care of scanning all the information. So now that we've kind of got the whole run of production assembly maybe put together, now we can take that and we could save that collection back to our SQL database where we're going to do like a Power BI report or some type of dashboarding. But we've tracked all of the stuff around that particular event. And one of the things you'll notice here with my barcodes, I've got a couple different types of barcodes. And the ones that work and don't work, I am not a barcode expert by any means, so I've been just kind of playing and working. And so I know, for example, that code 128Bs and As and Cs all work, but the reverses don't work. I know that code 39 works. I know code 93 works. I know QR works, UPCs, a whole bunch of them I have found that do work. And I'm guessing that this list is going to change because it's probably more about the device supporting it than not. But these are the ones that I got to work in my test. Ones I saw that didn't work were like interleaved 2 of 5. I don't know what that even means. Codabar, code 128B negative. So I told you the negatives work. GS1 data bar, MSI barcodes. Once again, words I don't know what they mean, but those are the ones I found that do and don't work. Okay. Anyway, so scan to collection. Another thing you might want to do is you might want to have an app that will scan and go. So what I'm going to do here is when I go down here and I scan this QR code, in the QR code I stored a URL. It happened to be PowerApps 911, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and that got us over there. So then we'll go back over. And so that would be a scan and go button. The last one I want to talk to you about is start auto scanner. As soon as I showed this off, someone's like, well, okay, this is great, but I don't want to keep pressing the button. I just want to be able to start scanning and rolling. And so that would get a little trickier, but that's the problems that you like to watch my videos to see me solve. So here's how it goes. So let's say start auto scanner. It goes. All right, so we'll scan the first barcode. So I get taken this yellow screen. 2 seconds later, a timer says, boom, do it again. So there's item 1. 2 seconds later, we'll scan one more, item 2, and then now we'll say done. Okay, so that is my auto scanner. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how a timer control can take advantage of doing that for you. We use the done button to get out, and in the done button today, we're just going to use to get out of there. But the done button is where I would then save that off to my SQL database, for example, for the customer project I'm supposed to be working on right now. Shh, don't tell them that I'm working with you guys instead. It's Saturday. I'm allowed to, right? I thought so. All right, so let's end that recording, and we will switch back over to my desktop. Okay, back over here on my desktop, let's build this thing. And so the first thing I want to talk about is you go up here to Insert and Controls, and then you go over to Media, because that's what I meant. You see this barcode scanner. This is not the one you want to use. This is the one that I haven't personally used in the field, but all my customers who've tried it out said, this one doesn't really work. And that's because it's one that the PowerApps team set out and built, and so they kind of did a bunch of their own stuff. So what we want to do is use the one that you just saw, which was using the iOS or Android's native capabilities to do that. And I confirmed that this feature is available on Android. My buddy Fausto, he went and opened up this morning and made sure this works. So both platforms should be available. If you're on a Windows phone, oh, I miss the days of my Windows phone. It's not, probably never going to be there. Okay, so to make the new feature show up, what you need to do is you need to go here to File. So you go to App Settings and then Advanced Settings. Way down here at the bottom is Enable Scan Barcode Function. So this is what you need to do, step 1. Boom, like that, on. All right, so now we have the scan barcode functionality, but it's only a function, so we're gonna have to kind of write our own UI as we go, and that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna grab a button here. You know, another fun thing I did, so there's new themes, and so I've been liking this, look at this orange theme. Oh yeah, see that? It looks nicer. All right, anyway, so we're gonna make our single scan button. So I'm gonna type in single scan. We're going to try to center it, but it's not in the mood to center. And so what we're going to do, we're going to say, all right, on select for this particular button, what do we want to do? Well, we're going to do set, right? Set is how you create variables. And if you're not familiar with variables, there's video down below. Because when we do these scans, we have to always put them into variables. And so we're just going to call this single scan, like that. And then what is the value is going to be scan barcode, just like that. There you go. That is literally all you have to do to make that single scan button. And so then, keeping with what I did earlier, I'd throw a label down here, and just right underneath it would have a label that said something like scanned data. Now, and then what we'll do is say an and then there is our single scan variable. Boom. Now, if you are used to watch my videos, you know normally we jump over and demo this. But because it's a native iOS functionality, there's no way in my Windows machine here to preview this or test this. So when I was building this app and figuring all this out for you guys, I literally would have to like go back and forth 1,000 times, right? So if you're doing this at home, what would you do right now? You'd say File, and then you'd say Save, and you'd say, you know, Shane is awesome is your app name, and then you'd hit Save here. And so after a few seconds, it would be done. And so that's what I would do. I'd save the app, and I'd go over to my device, I'd log in, refresh, and then get the version, and then come back over, okay? But we're not gonna do that here because we've already demoed it, and that would make too long. So that's how you get the single scan that we just demoed. Next up, let's throw another button on here. So single scan was great, but scan to collection was pretty cool, I thought. And this is, I think, what we're going to see more in the wild of. And so scan to collection, when you click on this particular button, what do we want to do? We want to do a collect. Okay? And so then, what is this? We'll just call it our scanner button. I don't know. Like that. And then what is your item? And you'll just say, we'll call it scanned barcode. Right? And these names don't mean anything. And then it would be the scan barcode function again. Boom. Put a little curly brace at the end and like that. And just keep in mind, if you're not used to variables or collections, I'll leave links below to my explainer videos on both those, but we're gonna assume you understand how all those work. But that will then, every time that you press this button, it's going to add whatever you scan with the scanner to the collection name scanner button, and it's going to put it in the column scanner barcode. So what you'll do then, if you want to see that, is you'd say, all right, I need a gallery. Go down here at the bottom, just like this, and we're going to say, oh, there's our scanner button collection, like that. And then it's just got one field, so I'll say title and scan barcode. I'll make it a little smaller though, so don't waste all my screen real estate. But so then now, that was how I was showing you to process through scanning those over and over again, right? So we could kind of have that whole collection. Now, one of the things to keep in mind with collections, because you're going to use that a lot in these scenarios, is if you give it the same names as your data source, right? So in the next video we're going to do, later, not today, but in the next video we're going to do is we're going to take that collection and write it off to a SQL database. So that way we could run a Power BI report against it. Well, what I do is if you make your collection, right, and remember how you make your collection names, so your column names, so my column name right now is scanned barcode. I want to make that match one for one with what my SQL collection is. So if I have all the same columns, then when I'm done, I can just say collect, and then I can say my SQL database, comma, scanner button, close parentheses, and that'll write the whole collection out in one fell swoop for me. So one of those little neat tricks that we'll talk about in a later video, but just keep that in mind that, you know, we're getting these into collections, we're building these muscles of how to get stuff in a collection, so we can worry about how to get it out in the next one. Quick video pause to scratch my face. All right. So that was 2, and both of those were pretty easy. Easy is the wrong word. Both of those are pretty straightforward, right? Boom. And I know for some of the people I've shown this to, that was it. They needed that. They went and left me. But then they came back and said, hey, now I want to do that whole multi-scan thing. I was like, I knew you'd be back. So how did we do the multi-scan? Well, what we're going to do is first off, we're going to add a button. Or no, we're not going to do the multi-scan yet. Nope. We're going to do the scan and go, right? So this is the one that we use to open up PowerApps 911. All right. And so what we're going to do here is PowerApps has a functionality called launch. And so the launch function takes you to whatever address. Well, it says, hey, what address do you want to go to? And so what I did was I just said run the function. That's it, right? Because this function, when I scanned the QR code, returned HTTPS www.powerapps911.com. And so that would fill in here. The launch function would invoke. It would open a new browser window in that new website. So I know a lot of people use QR codes to launch websites. So I wanted to make sure that we knew the scan and go functionality was pretty straightforward. And I did that with a QR code, but I don't know, just something I did. Okay. So the main attraction, the real reason you're here is my Start Auto Scanner, right? So let's go down here. Let's create a button called Start Auto Scanner. And this is what I spent about 5 hours of my Saturday figuring out how to make work because I'm a nice guy. So what we're going to do with that is there's a couple of different pieces. But when this one starts, let's resize this a little bit so it's easier. There we go. So what I want to do with this one is we're going to do a clear collect. Okay, why? Because clear collect says delete whatever was in the collection if it existed. If not, skip over it. Then create me a collection. And so we're going to call this the auto scanner collection. Okay. And so then what I did was I said, all right, I want to have the item be scan barcode, right? Our little function, go get that. But then I want to know, when did they scan it? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of the now function that's built into PowerApps that knows the date and time. So then now I can write that, right? Because in my database later, I want to write the date and time that people did their work, because that's one of the things we like to do is we like to log these type of information and activity. And then the who. So the who's an interesting one. And so what I did for who was I used the user full name function like this, because that knows who's logged into this app already. Now, the customers I've talked to, they want to have their employees scan their employee badge IDs. So you could definitely do that. Maybe you have them scan that once, you write that into a variable, and then you just fill in the blank as you go. But I always try to think of what does PowerApps give me? And one of the things that PowerApps gives me, it already knows who's logged in, right? So why ask them to scan that if I already know who they are? So, you know, tomato, tomato, you can do that any way you want. But that's how I looked at it. Okay. So after we get all that, then what I want to do is I want to navigate over to the next screen, which we have to create. So we navigate to it. So we're going to say screen. There you go. There's screen 2. Take me back to screen 1. So we're going to say navigate to screen 2. And so the reason for this is that my customer wants a visual indicator that the scan completed, right? So it goes to the camera mode, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take them back to the screen, which I made nice and yellow so they could know, like, okay, that scan took. Now, on the demo, it beeped for us, right? You heard the beep, which is great here in my office where I control the sound. I got soundproofing over here, right? It's a very controlled environment. But on a factory floor or a job site or things like that, the audio clue wasn't enough. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to make a nice big bright screen for them. So that's what we did. So we do the first scan, right? So we're gonna click the start auto scanner. It's gonna invoke the barcode scanner. We scanned. It records all of this data into our collection called auto scanner. And then when it's done, right, that's a semicolon. Next thing, navigate to screen 2. So screen 2, the very first thing I did there was I made the fill yellow. I literally have no idea why I chose yellow. I just wanted something that was nice and easy. And I'm guessing I'll find out later that there was a reason I shouldn't have used yellow, but right now I used yellow. And so on this screen, what we needed, is I'm over here cheating, so if you wonder why I keep looking off to the side instead of looking at you, so I'll make sure I might get this wrong. That my wife is waiting for me to go to dinner. So the faster I do this, the faster I get to go to dinner with my wife. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're added a gallery. And the gallery is we wanna show the auto scanner collection. And then we will get rid of all of this. And we'll say we wanna actually show title, subtitle, and body. And so then we'd have the item, the who, and the when, right? And then don't forget, of course, you could always go over here and say when like this. So then that way, you make it more obvious. But hopefully when someone sees a date and timestamp, they know that that was the when. You never know though, okay? So that is how we made the gallery that was showing them the items they scanned. And then what you might do is you might have it like sort by ascending or descending. You can get into the whole gallery so you can change the sort order of the auto scanner, because right now it's going to show it in the order of the first one to the last one. So you might want to flip the script there so it always shows the last thing they scanned at the top. But those are the type of logistical things you can kind of adjust to make your app work a little better or meet your needs. Okay, so that shows them. Now, how was I continually getting the scanner just to automatically go again, right? So what you're going to do there is you're going to use a timer. So we're going to go to controls and the timer. And so I stuck it on the screen to help us see and understand what was going on. In reality, when I release the app to the customer, I'm going to hide the timer, right? Because they don't need to see the 1, the 2. They're just going to wait 2 seconds or 1.5 seconds or whatever. But while you're testing and learning, it's easier to see the timer so you know if it's working or not. So the duration of a timer is in milliseconds. And so this is 1 minute. This is 60,000 milliseconds or 60 seconds. So I just changed the 60 portion of this to a 2. So that makes it a 2-second timer. All right. And so then with the timer, what there is there's several little things that I'm going to go and change. So we're going to click on timer right here. And so I wanted the timer to auto start. So I'm going to change auto start to true. That way the first time it shows up, whoop, it goes, runs its 2 seconds, and then runs the scan again. Okay, I set the duration already. Let's double check and just make sure. Duration, 2 seconds, perfect. And then what I needed was an on timer end. So what do I want to do when the timer ends? This is where you're going to have to do a little bit of stuff. And so we're going to put it all in here, and then I will kind of explain to you what it is. Or we'll kind of do it as we go, whatever, right? So we're going to say, I'm going to make a variable, right? Update context is a contextual variable. And so that variable, I'm going to set its value to false. And it's named timer start because what we're going to do is we're going to go to the start option, right? So start is false by default. If you want to have a timer start, I did a whole video on timers, so I'll leave a link to that below as well. But what you do is you just set a variable. And so by making this variable true, changes this start property to true, which makes the timer actually start, right? So we set the timer's property of start to a variable that is true or false. And by default, a contextual variable is false. And so what will happen is when our timer finishes, right? So on timer end, we want to set that back to false because how we got it there was by setting it to true, right? So hold on a second, that'll make more sense. Update context, boom, like that. Then what do we want to do? We want to do our collect. And I'm going to jump over here and just remind you of something. So our button for start auto scanner had clear collect. Now we don't want to do clear collect over here. We want to do a regular collect. So I'm going to paste in the clear collect and I'm just going to delete clear collect or the clear portion of it because the syntax is exactly the same. Why? Because clear collect wiped out the whole collection and then added our first scan. Collect is just going to append a second scan, a third scan, a fourth scan, a fifth scan, etc. If you put the word clear right here, then every time you do a scan, it's just going to overwrite the previous one and you're never going to get that long collection that you want. So this one needs to be collect. So we're just going to append the auto scanner collection and we're going to add another layer with the same info. After we're done with that, then we're going to do a semicolon. And we're going to update our context again. We're going to set timer start, but this time we're going to set timer start to be true. I'll make this a little easier to read here in just a second. Hey, let's hit format text. Ooh, look at that. This is one of the new features I haven't played with much. Okay, so update the context, boom. We did our collection, boom. And then we update context timer start true, right? So that changes that variable back to true, which makes our 2-second timer start back at 0 and go 1, 2, and then run this again, which will set the timer back to false, right? Because you have to take the true false variable and you have to keep flipping it back and forth. You can't just set it true over and over again. It doesn't work. So when you're done with it being true, you set it to false, you do the collection, and then you set it to true again. And so then that way that 2-second will run. So this is what is causing the app to automatically take a scan every 2 seconds. This little bit of crazy code right here. All right. And I explain all this in nerdier detail in the timer video. So if you're like, what just happened? You can either just cut and paste my code, or you can go watch the timer video to better understand how timers work. All right. So I think that takes care of the auto functionality. Boom. So we'll put that back up there. So then the last thing you guys wanted, or I wanted, was a button that just said, I am done. Boom. Oh, that's how you do a boom. There you go. So like that. Okay, and the I am done button, right? So this is, the user has 2 seconds to click this to kind of get out. Now also keep in mind, maybe you're like, hey, I just need them to scan 3 things and then be done. So you could set the logic and say, have a counter variable and say, keep repeating this timer until, my counter gets to 3 or the number of items in the collection is 3. There's different ways for you guys to create that, but I'm assuming that they want, for my customer, they want an open-ended number of scans. Sometimes a project might be 7 scans after they start. Sometimes it might be 26. So I made it this whole model of I am done. And so what is on I am done? When they click that, we need to do 2 things. First one is I need to set my context variable back to false, right? I don't want that timer, to be done. Quit running timer. And then I need to navigate, and I'm just going to navigate back to screen 1 for now. In reality, if we were building this as my production app, when I am done, what we do is we take them to a screen where they can review their results, and then they can hit submit work. They could also go in and delete scans and things like that. But that is outside the scope of our first video. So right now I'm just giving you the I am done button to show you how to get off of this looping screen. Okay, but that's it. And so then now when they get off the screen, right, you have everything saved in this auto scanner collection. And so you can go write that back to SQL or CDS or SharePoint or Excel file or email it to somebody, whatever you want to do with it, right? You've got all their scan activity of what item they scanned, what time they did it, and who did it captured. And so now we can go and build solutions on that. The coal mining customer, not coal mining, the customer I talked to that was, they dig stuff for a living, different, whatever, you don't care. Anyway, they're using it so like when they scan, every time they pull out a bucket of dirt, the driver scans. And so then at the operations center, miles away, they can see real time how much dirt is coming out of the new mine that they're doing. I don't know why I said coal, because it really isn't coal. It's something else. Anyway, was just interesting, right? So that it used to be the guy would write it down on a piece of paper, and so it would be like a week before they got their data back. Now, real time, they know that 10 tons of dirt is being pulled out of the mine. And so in real time, they know that today they pulled out 100,000 tons of dirt. It's pretty cool, and it's a simple little app like this that's going to enable all of that. So, all right. Hopefully this is enough to kind of get your guys' heads wrapped around it. I will do a couple things for you. One is as I find out, all right, this feature is still experimental, so at some point it will become non-experimental, which will be, yeah, a big win, which I think is real soon. But I'll try and keep an updated list of the different types of barcodes I do and don't know that work. So leave me comments below if you have updates with those. Also, if you just have any questions, you're like, hey, why didn't you cover this? Or how would I do this with barcodes? Ask the questions below. This is where these videos come from. It's people like you asking me, what's up? How do I do these things? And then finally, I will shortly, probably next week, make another video that takes this and starts looking at how we take this data and we're going to push it to a SQL database. I'm going to run a Power BI report on it so you can kind of start to visualize what a customer application would work for. So I think that's it for today. The wife is waiting on me to go to dinner. If you need anything, you can hit me up in the comments. You can tweet me at Shane's Cows. If you want me to build this for you, right? PowerApps 911. This is what we're doing for people all over the world every day. So thanks and have a great day. Hey, it's me again. If you got a second, click the subscribe button. That always keeps me making more videos. Or if you want to work together, need some help getting your Power Apps going, hit me up at PowerApps 911. Always happy to work together. Or finally, if you're really just looking for more videos, that's probably what it is. Check out the Power Apps playlist over here and, enjoy that. All right, thanks and have a great day.